beautiful souls. Today I'm going to talk about unity consciousness and what that really means, as I said in my title, and how it connects to separation. First, I just want to let you know that I am the author of this book, Conversations with a Tree, which is a collection of channeled messages from a tree that, much to my surprise, asked me to be her scribe. And I have another channeled book called The Spiritual Seeker's Guide to Happiness. This one is quite a large book. That is a collection of essays from the Council of Nine. They were both written in 2012, actually, and I was sitting with the Council of Nine every day and receiving messages after being asked by them to be their scribe. And then Conversations with a Tree came very much as a surprise. I never expected to be channeling a tree, but the messages are beautiful and profound, full of love, and so appropriate for this time of guiding us back to our true nature through nature. And the Spiritual Seeker's Guide to Happiness has an energetic frequency that's about us returning to loving ourselves, which really fits into this topic today of unity, consciousness, and oneness that we talk about so much, as opposed to the separation that we've been living in, because we've been living in this dualistic world, which is white, black, good, bad, right, wrong, yin, yang, and it's all about opposites and separation. And so now that we're moving into this new time, there's a lot of talk about unity, consciousness, and oneness, but what does it really mean? And this has been coming up for me lately. This is something I've been contemplating after my video last week with Sophia, as part of that, and also as part of my process of connecting with Oracle Girl Jacqueline Hobbs, and growing and expanding so much through that, really allowing myself to question the way I've been living my life and who I identify as, knowing that we are living in this new frequency now, and in order to fully step in and create this new earth that we're here to create, it requires us understanding who we really are, the truth of us that we're coming back to. And that means really being able to identify separation consciousness versus unity consciousness. So I'm going to just connect with my notes to make sure I kind of keep this on track so it's somewhat coherent, and just share my thoughts on this, and then I'll bring through some light language at the end, or perhaps a channeling to see what wants to come through, just to add to what I've brought forward. So, you know, in this talk about unity, consciousness, and oneness, I think a lot of people are using the word without really knowing what it means to be living that way in our lives, and what it feels to be living in that unity consciousness. And so I've also been exploring this in my work, because I've felt myself wanting to shift in my work and not really knowing what that would look like. And as I started exploring this, and as you may know, the freedom release technique that I developed is all about clearing. And I've been using it since 2013, helping people around the world. Almost every client has been a repeat client because they felt the benefits of just one session. So that clearing work has been really helpful. And the way it's worked is that I'm able to identify where a belief system originated, either in this lifetime or a past life, and clear it in that moment in time and replace it with something more beneficial. But what I'm starting to realize now is that this clearing work is really about separation. It's really rejecting that event that created this belief system, which then is part of separation consciousness. And so I've been exploring this. Those of you who follow my channel, you know I've been exploring this for a month to 6 weeks, because I always want to be in integrity with my work. I would not continue with this work just because I can, if I know there's something more that we need. And so I've been giving it a lot of thought. And I'm really delighted because over the last few days, this whole process, and since that last video, is really finding its way into my awareness. And last week I did some work with that understanding that I want to be moving into this unity consciousness that really showed me the solution, and that's what I wanted to share with you here today. So we are in the new energy now, and this is part of what came up last week. Was I was doing some light language with a friend in Nova Scotia, and she said that she heard that the veil has been lifted. So the veil, as in the way we've been suppressed and that disconnect from the fullness of our DNA, and this veil that keeps us living in an illusion and thinking all of this is real, has been lifted. And she just asked me if I had any thoughts on that. So I went into the Ancient Ones with the light language, and I was immediately told that yes, we could not be in the frequency we are in now if the veil had not been lifted. So we are already in the new frequency of the new human that we want to be, but we're not aware of it because we're still putting our focus on the old systems, and we're still seeing what looks like a lot of separation consciousness out in the world. There's a great divide now, and I feel that that is part of this process of us finding our way into this unity consciousness. Some people are ready to embrace it, and some are not. And so the divide between people is feeling bigger, because for those who are aware and ready to step into this new energy, this new frequency of consciousness that we're living in, then we become very different from people who are still living fully anchored in separation consciousness. And so what this means ultimately is separation is no longer the way. Thinking white, black, good, bad, right, wrong, that's no longer the way. And so how do we make this shift into unity consciousness? And what does that feel like? And what does it look like? We have no idea the extent of separation consciousness that is part of our identity and who we see ourselves as, because we've been living in millennia on this earth with that acting out in our life experience. And so it requires a willingness to really look in and see where we are not that truth anymore, where things aren't so black and white anymore, and what needs to let go of our identity in order to shift into this new unity consciousness. And I've mentioned before, in late 2019, I went through a death rebirth. That's one of the ways that all of this happens, even grieving. And it wasn't until the other side of it that I realized it was a part of my personality that was leaving. And it was that part of the separation consciousness that used to relate to the world in a certain way. I realized afterwards, part of that just decided to leave. Because I am here on the path of ascension, I know that. It's in my gene keys. It's my life purpose in the gene keys. So it's a big part of who I am. It's there for all of us. It's stronger and more alive in the genetic makeup of some of us. And so that's why I like to share what I'm going through, because I feel like it's here for all of us. And the more we understand by learning from the experiences of others, the more we can recognize it when it begins to happen for ourselves and have a greater understanding of what is happening, instead of thinking we're, falling into a dark hole. So the key to moving in to unity consciousness or oneness that we're all talking about now is a word that came out of the last video I did where I was interviewing Sophia. And she used the word integration. She was talking about the divine feminine, and she talked about it being integration. And I really see that as a key word in this process. It's integration instead of separation, and integration instead of rejection. And that whole piece about the way I have been doing my work of clearing the past, getting rid of it in a sense, is rejection. And this whole piece about integration is a whole different way of working. So when I was working with this friend, and she was asking me to do some work with her, I immediately wanted to go in and clear the way I usually do, and then began to question that. So I did the clearing, and then I questioned it, and then the light language, the ancient ones through the light language told me that integration doesn't mean that we don't clear or work with that event from the past, but after the clearing, to integrate it all. So it's integrating what would have been seen as a negative event in that separation space with the clearing. So it's integrating what it was like for her to be living with the belief that she knew wasn't serving her, and also what it was like to be living, with the process that I do, because after I clear, I then restore with a positive event, which then shifts that previous experience. So it's what it was like to be living with that challenging belief, and then what it is like to be living with that challenging belief having been shifted and restored through the work that I do. So that is part of the divine feminine, and that's also part of what came up with the interview with Sophie. It could all be embraced and nothing rejected. And that is the way of the feminine. The feminine is that nurturing, bringing someone to the womb, bringing us to the breast, which is the very beginning of being nurtured by life. Literally, for those of us who were fortunate enough to be breastfed. And so this embracing the feminine is to bring it all into love, which then softens everything. This is the healing aspect of the feminine, as it embraces everything. And the feminine can also be very strong and powerful. I'm not saying that it's only the one side, but it is more inclined to be this nurturing, embracing energy that embraces with love. And when we bring things into love, we can soften and relax. And I think as humans, I know certainly for myself, my body is very seldom completely relaxed. There's always some kind of tension in there just because of the way that we've been living. And my life, like most people on this earth, we all have had our challenges and our difficulties in life, and those challenges can have a major impact. And then we don't even realize that living under the veil, what that has been like for us. It's become so much a part of the way we operate in the world that we don't even recognize the tension that we live in and the cycle that we're spinning on and never getting ahead and never sort of finding that utopia where we're just living in joy and happiness. It just, especially lately, does not seem to be happening. And so when we embrace it with love and that nourishment of love, of the feminine, of life, then we begin to soften. And the separation needs the embrace instead of the rejection. So this is a big piece. We don't move from separation consciousness into unity consciousness by rejecting anything. We integrate it, we embrace it, we love it, we soften it. We do what we can to resolve it. We still do healing, but we don't reject what we're healing. We embrace what we're healing as part of our experience. And you can almost see it like bringing it to a null point where using the words that we're used to, the negative and the positive just come together and nullify each other, so we're just back at 0 point, back to our true source. And this is a key for us in understanding what it's like to be living in this new energy, no longer under the veil, is for us to recognize how much we've rejected in our lives, how much we feel separate from others, even separate from our own physical body, because in trauma people tend to dissociate and actually leave the body. So many people have been even separated from the physical vessel that we're supposed to be on this earth experiencing through. So the key is to embrace and to love. And an example of this with my friend, she had eye surgery and she had to wear glasses all her life. And from this eye surgery, the two eyes are seeing differently. So they're not together, each one seeing the same way. One is seeing, let's say, close up, and the other one is seeing far away, and together they bring her the complete experience. And this realization came to me as we were working together, and it was quite profound for her, that even though these two eyes are seeing differently, she said her mind would get caught up in that. So if she didn't think about it, everything was okay, but as soon as she thought about it, it was almost like that discrepancy was there and she couldn't bring it back into unity. And once I said to her, that in this new consciousness, in this new way of living, that her eyes now are coming into unity, such a clear example of two separate things that can come together to create 20/20 vision. So two separate things coming together to be a whole and work efficiently. And so she said when she doesn't think about it, her vision is great and better. And now she's no longer wearing glasses, which is something that she always wanted. So a part of that experience was to learn that separation is no longer the way. We are in unity. And this was a physical example of what that looks like. And that's kind of the simplicity of how we can get these things. When we really look at everything that's happening and we're contemplating something, then these answers just keep coming to us and we get deeper and deeper understanding and awareness of what all of this means. So, integration versus rejection. And now we need to learn what it is to be living in this wholeness. This is what this unity consciousness is about, is living in this wholeness with things no longer being separate. But we've been under the veil for so long that it's really hard to understand what this looks like. And that, I believe now, is not only our invitation, I feel it's a requirement for us to really move into this new energy frequency that we're living in, is to recognize all the patterns within us where this frequency of separation has created so much division in our lives. And I'll do another video and expand on this, on what that process can be like, to really allow ourselves to dissolve and disintegrate, to become who we've always been, the truth of what it is to be human. It's there, and we're in a much higher frequency now that's going to assist us in getting there. So now it's the awareness and understanding of what that can look like. And that's part of the process that I've been going through in the last 6 weeks, of just questioning who I've been and understanding then what it means to be living in this new unity consciousness and embracing instead of rejecting. And the solutions are coming to me through my work. It's showing itself to do the clearing and embrace it and bring it all together, bring the whole experience of who we've been together, and to love the whole thing, because all the challenges and the difficulties are always teachers. They're always showing us a new direction and leading us forward if we're willing to see that. And the more we're willing to accept that it is serving us, the more we allow ourselves to move into a new direction with greater ease. It's in our choosing, in our decisions, that greater ease can come. In my book, Conversations with the Tree, 2012 was a really challenging year for me. And in that year, I developed the mantra, all things lead to something better. And that mantra led me to something better. It led me to what I've been doing ever since then, this healing work, the channeling and the freedom release technique. Had I not held that mantra, and had I decided to go back to what life was after it all got stirred up and thrown up in the air, I would have continued to suffer in many ways. And so that decision that all change leads to something better, that was a decision to begin to think that way. It's led me to this beautiful work that I know is totally what I'm meant to be doing. I don't even think of it as work. I just think of it as who I am. And I believe that's the truth of our future, is what we do in the world is the truth of who we are. And so we have to learn how to let go of this old system of the 9 to 5 that year of 2020 was certainly good at showing everybody that they don't want the 9 to 5 anymore, most people. It was a big eye-opener for that. And that was a beautiful gift that came out of that year. More and more people are wanting to return to nature. Nova Scotia, where I grew up, has been a very low population. And now more and more people are moving there. Real estate prices are going off the charts because people are realizing they don't want to be in the cities anymore. They want to be connected to nature. All of this is awakening now at this time. And that's, again, why Conversations with a Tree, that's what the trees were telling us in this book. We are lost because we've become so disconnected from nature. And the more we return to nature, the more we're returning home to the true nature of who we are. And that is profound right now. That is really part of the path of us living free from the veil and discovering what it means to be the full, unified human that we are. So, thank you for being present with this, and I am going to bring through some higher guidance, the source within me to expand on this in any way. And so it is, beloved ones, our great joy and delight to be before you. Indeed, great words of wisdom have been spoken here. Just feeling a bit of clearing as I'm doing this. For many, there will not be comprehension at this time of what has been spoken. However, it is an invitation. When you allow yourself to hear it and to receive it, if that resonates with you, if you are willing, if it feels right for you, to simply receive it, even if you don't fully comprehend what it means or how you find your way there, then it will be the planting of a seed that will, over time and in the right moment, for you, it will awaken. And that seed will begin to sprout and grow and blossom. This is the way of it. This is the way of fully integrating and understanding within yourself. Most often you don't hear it once and you fully comprehend it. This channel has spoken many times about reading 10 books all about the same thing, and finally it just kicks in and it becomes a part of one's own internal system, one's own internal belief system and awareness. This is the way of it. So this is a part of an invitation into awakening, an invitation into not only what is coming, but what you have the opportunity to be right now. And so now is the moment to start contemplating and playing with this and allowing yourselves to feel into it, to feel into the truth of it for you. And we would also say that it does require attention to dissolving or becoming aware of the depth of the indoctrination of the separation consciousness. Parts of it will come naturally and just flow through, but it also requires your contemplation and your dedication to yourself to explore that and what it means and where it shows up in your life. So know that you are coming into a way of living in the world where life simply flows through you, and where you have the awareness that you don't need to be in your mind so much and figure things out, that inspiration flows through you, and the inspiration is full of life. The have-tos and the shoulds and the how-tos are all energy draining, but the inspired thoughts and the inspired direction forward is full of life and full of vitality. It excites you. For many people, that doesn't happen anymore because it has been taken from you in a sense. And so we want you to know that that opportunity is there for you now. And so the more you are willing to let go of the dense frequencies of the past and who you were, and make changes in your life that you know deep down inside need to be made in order for you to move forward into this new frequency energy, the more you are willing to do these things, the more you then step into that path where it's like those sidewalks that move and you hardly have to move at all. You can just stand there if you want to, or you can walk and get twice as fast with half the effort, twice as far with half the effort. This is what you're moving into. And so it's your choice to give attention to this so that you can find yourself on that moving sidewalk that makes things so much easier. This is the blessing of all of this chaos that is happening around you. All of the chaos is showing the separation. Some people stand completely as witness to the chaos and just wait for it to settle. Wonder how long that will take, wonder what it will look like, but they don't get ingrained in it. They don't become enmeshed in it. And then others are deeply in it, flailing in a river through the rapids, not knowing how to get out. And know that if you find yourself in the river and it's difficult, then ask yourself, where are those old programs that deep down inside you know want to change, but there's an unwillingness to do it? There's the but what if. What if they don't love me anymore? What if I lose all my friends? What if I lose my job and don't have any income? What if I don't have a place to live? Those are all fears that keep you in that old paradigm, that as long as you listen to them, you're never going to get into the new paradigm. So the irony is that you have to have the courage to face those consequences, and often it won't be as difficult as you think, because once you get onto that moving sidewalk, everything just falls into place and the sidewalk just takes you where you need to be. But it takes courage in the beginning to move through those fears and be willing to grab the lifesaver that's been thrown over for you and allow someone to bring you to shore and assist you. So this is our message today, beloveds. Trusting it is helpful and guidance for your way forward into the beautiful awakening that is happening on this planet. We leave you with grace and love, and so it is. Okay, thank you so much for being present once again, and wishing you all the best as we navigate these incredible times, again, as the separation looks that much wider, and the paradox, as always, is that it's actually bringing us closer together into unity consciousness. Lots of love, everybody.